Welcome, writers. Welcome to Chapter 5 of How to Publish and Write Your Novel. Chapter 5 is going to cover questions and kind of a little bit of a refresh. So I am your host, MaryGirl Moody, and if you want to see the other chapters regarding this series, just click on this playlist. So if you want to see my book trailers, stuff for my books, and the playlist that I listen to when I write, click on this playlist. So let's talk questions. Luis Gonzalez asked me, my question is, what is a great way to get our overall concept down to an actual star? And I thought that was a very great question. So, Luis, my answer would basically be beta readers. Once you have finished your novel, you do have to give it to people who are going to read it and give you an honest opinion on what they thought about it. So that way you can improve it and kind of tell you what does and does not work. Now, I'm going to do a special actual video on beta readers in a later chapter, but here's the short version of it. I gave my first novel, Regina, to about 40 freaking people, and about maybe 8 of them actually read it. So from that, though, I was able to realize that my ending was not specific enough and that the twist was not explained at all to the reader. So I know that it may be hard for a lot of you guys to get criticism regarding your book, but you do have to put your work out there. Only then can your audience actually help you pinpoint your concept. Because again, this book is in your head, and when you read it, it's going to stay in your head. So you have to give it to somebody who does not exist in your head in order to actually fine-tune that concept. So I do hope that that helped, Luis. Dust Him says, or asks, what is a great way to stick to the main plot when developing characters? As far as horror goes, do you recommend writing from the beginning or writing the most exciting parts first? Now, my answer is exactly. I do write my exciting parts first, but you do have to try to keep the book in order to prevent mayhem. Now, for example, let's say you write an awesome action scene with certain characters in the scene, but later you decide to kill off one of those characters and the scene is actually placed before that action scene. It's obviously not going to make sense for your character to appear after their own death. So you have to do a series of edits when you're finished to actually fix these mistakes. So again, I do like to write the exciting parts first, but the downslope to that is it's very difficult to keep your characters and your storyline focused, because you have to go back and strategically place these exciting parts in the places of your book where they're going to fit. And if characters don't die, well, that'll make it a lot easier, but your timeline has to fit. I mean, there's so much that you have to go back on and make sure that your book has flow. So, again, I do write the exciting parts first, but there is a downside to doing that. And a great way to stick to the main plot when you're developing characters is just write it down on an actual little sticky note and put it on whatever you're writing. You have to always keep that in front of you. And especially when you're thinking about your characters and your storyline, keep that one piece of paper in front of you to keep you focused on what you're thinking about and what you're about to write about is going to tie in to your actual main plot, okay? AHS Theris asks, do you recommend writing short stories before attempting to write a novel? My answer is that it is not necessary. Short stories will encourage you to stop writing at a certain point after starting, which won't help you finish a novel. So, again, it's great to have that experience of writing short stories. However, again, you're going to get to a certain page and you're going to stop, because that's what short stories are about. They're supposed to be short. But the goal of writing a novel is to take that one short story and expand it into about 70 to 80,000 words. And that is where you're going to find it most difficult. So, again, not necessary. KLL16 asks, hey Mary, when you're writing a novel, do you plan first and write down all the things that will happen, or do you just write as you go? Well, KLL, I do kind of plan the novel first. Um, Now, there are points where when I'm planning the novel versus when I go to writing it, sometimes it'll feel out of place, such as if I plan for the character to have a certain turning point because something horrible happens to them. Let's say I write the scene and it just doesn't feel right. Well, I'll go back, I'll totally just erase everything I've just written and try to take it from a different perspective. So I do try to write down everything first that I want to happen in a book and keep a cohesive unit to my storyline. However, it happens all the time that when you're writing, you're going to think, this is crap. Never be afraid to go back and erase it or delete it and start from the beginning, okay? Carol Badawa asks, and I hope I enunciated your name correctly, Carol. I guess my first question is, I would have to change all the names in my story as ABC, TV, and General Hospital. Oh, okay, that's right. Carol does fan fiction and is asking if she needs to change the names in her characters in her story in order to avoid copyright. As far as I know, you do not have to change the names of the characters. However, you do need to notate that this is fan fiction. I do apologize, Carol. I do not know exactly what the copyright is regarding fan fiction, or excuse me, regarding copyright and fan fiction. I'm only more aware of copywriting for a book. And when you do for a book, you can absolutely use the same title and the same character as somebody. However, they can't be in the same context, such as somebody can't take my book, Regina, somebody can't take the name Regina Roth and put her in a small town called Lee, Texas, where she's having nightmares. You can't do that. That's copyright infringement. However, fan fiction is completely different. So Omar King, if you are out there, maybe you would not mind answering Carol's questions in the comments, because Omar writes fan fiction for American Horror Story on WordPress, and he's amazing. And so Omar is probably the better person to actually ask for this. The average, thank you so much for your question, Carol. The Average Savage asks, any good tips for how to write the opening of a piece of writing with either a short story or a novel? And my answer is, make it memorable and make that sucker pop. The first line to your novel or your story is the most important one. It sells your reader to continue reading, and that this story is actually going to be worth it for them. So it's your actual second impression on your reader. Your book cover is actually your first impression. But you have to sell your story in that first one sentence to the reader. It's hard, but you guys can do it. And the first line to my novel was, I didn't discover the plot to murder me until it was too late. It gave some sort of story to the reader and revealed a murder plot, but it also was something to encourage them to continue reading the book. So this is something, guys, that will absolutely take time. My suggestion is to find your favorite novel or short story, read the first sentence, and kind of get a sense of what they did to draw you into their story. Again, you don't want to copy it, but you want to create a great opening sentence and flow it into the rest of your paragraph or your dialogue. Some stories do start with dialogue. And again, my suggestion is pick your best or your favorite stories, read the opening, and draw from that what that author did to draw their reader in, okay? Tyler Austin asks, hey, I'm writing a screenplay and I'm putting it on for my school, but I want the official writing to go public. Any tips? Absolutely, Tyler. Number one, I would get that sucker copyrighted, which, number one, Tyler, congratulations on writing a freaking screenplay. That has got to be one of the hardest things to do, and the fact that your school is putting it on is amazing. Congratulations. Excuse me. My tips, you actually do have it copyrighted when you put it on in the school production. But you definitely, if you want to take it another step further, go to the I guess it depends on what country you're in, Tyler, but if you are in the United States of America, you want to go to the U.S. Copyright Office online. You pay $35, you submit your screenplay, and they submit it. You get a copyright actual certificate prohibiting anybody from stealing your story. And that will give you absolute freedom to put it public. And as far as going public, put it everywhere. Put it in every famous social media site. Put it also in free sites such as WordPress. There's free ebooks, which people do put screenplays on. There is also Obuko, and there is free ebooks. I think I just said that. There's a lot of them, actually. And that's one of the best things to do is to really get it out there that way. So guys, thank you so much for your questions. Let's move on very quickly to refresh time. Now guys, if you are serious about your novel, you should be working on your grammar while you create your novel. Yes, my author friends, grammar is the critical element to your novel. Think of your book as having a dark and light side of the writing force. You are the light and the grammar is the dark. Your novel will not exist without both you and the grammar. So if you need help with your grammar, here's some things that you can do, basically separated by age, because I know that my viewers do vary in age. So if you're 16 and under, my suggestion is talk to your English teacher. Tell them that you're a writer and that you are taking your novel and your grammar extremely seriously. Then ask them for some tips on what you can do to improve your grammar. They will be more than happy to help you and might possibly read what you have so far. This will absolutely be a good thing because they want to get a realistic view of your current skills. So reading your own words will tell them where you need help the most, okay? Now, if you are over 16, but you are still a student, it's more likely that you will be successful following the same scenario that I just described. And if you're in college, take a class, talk to your professor. You know, they love it when students show them interest in wanting to learn and will most likely go out of their way to help you. This will give you an excuse also to make friends. If you decide that you don't want to actually ask a professor, there's going to be somebody out there, somebody who is an English major and is most likely going to be your friend. Ask them to help you. They can tutor you or possibly help you edit the final version of your manuscript. Now, moving on to 16 or older, there's obviously places you can go, guys. You can pay certain people to review your novel. There are people who will charge you $20 an hour. There will be people who will charge you 2 cents per word. However, when you have a 70,000 word novel, 2 cents turns into about $3 to $4 grand. So maybe 2. I apologize. I'm probably a little overestimating the math. I just remember the cost to actually edit my first book, Regina, and pay someone like 2 cents per word to do it was about $3,000. And there was no way I could afford that. So there's going to be that one friend out there, guys, that corrects, our texts, our social media posts, our verbiage, our notes, our emails, and even hell, our greeting cards. Tell them that you need help with your grammar, and I swear to you, they're going to try to convert you faster than a person tries to convert someone on religion. I mean, there are online classes that you can take, that you can obviously refresh your training, and there are webinars and seminars that you can attend. But to be honest with you guys, I don't honestly do those kinds of things. The reason I don't do the NRs is that I utilize my other sources, like purchasing books to educate myself on grammar. And there's no shame, guys, on being self-taught. Absolutely no freaking shame. It is a much cheaper route than taking a seminar or like a webinar or paying somebody a lot of freaking money to edit your book. And there are stages of edits that these people will do for you. They will do a soft edit, which is just like comma, basic grammar kind of stuff, punctuation check. And then there are those that will do an intense check, such as, is there a preposition at the beginning of the sentence? You know, this sentence does not refer to the actual dialogue. I mean, they will literally get in the butthole of your manuscript and they will give it a colonoscopy and pick that sucker apart for you. I mean, literally, brutally pick that sucker apart for you. I mean, it's obviously worth it if you can't afford the money. Absolutely. I highly recommend to skip the editing process and pay someone to do it. I hate editing with everything I have, and I would rather just stick to writing the freaking novel. But it doesn't really work that way. So guys, I hope that I helped you in regards to thinking about cost for your editing. We will go over editing and grammar and cost of actually publishing your book, traditional versus self, in later chapters. So I do sincerely appreciate you guys for hanging on with me. And if you have any questions in regards to anywhere in this process, please leave them in the comments, because probably about chapter 10, I will do another video that will refresh and answer your questions. So lastly, guys, in regards to tips and refreshment, you should be reading. Find a book in your genre that you're writing for and read that sucker. It won't have, you know, I'm not going to have surgery from somebody who has absolutely no experience. So you obviously wouldn't want to read a book from somebody who has never read a book. So plus, you know, you're reading your genre is going to help you keep up on what is trendy and what the young and what those readers in that genre actually like. And take from it, people. If you love the action, the drama, the comedy, or whichever type of book you love to read, incorporate that element into your book. Now remember, it does help you to picture your book as you're writing it as if it were a movie happening in your head. So write what keeps your attention, because what keeps your attention is going to keep the reader's attention. Now guys, thank you so much for watching the video. In chapter 6, we are going to cover the coveted subject of dialogue. I know a lot of you have questions for that, so and that you have been expecting that. So if you have questions regarding dialogue, please put them into the comments. I will make sure that I cover it in the video for next week, which will be next Friday. And if you like the video, please hit like. And please subscribe, guys, and check out my playlist on how to write and publish a novel for more videos. Thank you guys so much for your support. Merry Christmas and happy holiday to whichever holiday you celebrate. And get out there and get to writing. Bye, guys.